Imagine spending years building your future in a country, only to feel it slipping away due to sudden policy changes. This is what international students are now facing in the United States as we set to have the president-elect take over on January 2025. Now, as the US prepares for the potential return of President-elect Donald Trump, international students find themselves in a precarious position. Now, university campuses all across the United States are imploring that their students return to campus in fear of what might happen on Inauguration Day, and fearing stricter immigration policies, mass deportations, and tightened visa rules. Now, amidst all this fearful immigration crackdown, this video is going to be delving into what's happening now, what news releases have happened, and actual cases of students actually fearing for the worst. Now, whether you are an international student or just someone who has an interest in immigration matters, or you might be a parent with your child in a university overseas, then this video is the right content for you at the right time so that you can prepare yourself for what is about to happen. Because if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Next Level Life Hacks, where we take the next steps needed to go towards our financial freedom and success. Now, what are the warning signs that we are seeing for impending change in the immigration system as it pertains to international students or students on a student visa? Now, prominent institutions like Yale, MIT, and the University of Massachusetts, they have issued urgent advisories to their international students and for their faculty members, and these warnings stem from Trump's previous policies that he had while he was in office a few years or several years ago. So let me just make this very clear. This content or this video or myself, I choose to take no sides in terms of what is happening now in different immigration issues. My role and my responsibility is to bring you the information. Then whatever situation that you are in, you use this information that I'm imparting to you to make educated decisions regarding your future or your family's future. So no sides taken, just giving you unbiased, non-political information that is existing in the United States right now. Now, what we are seeing is that prominent institutions like Yale, MIT, and the University of Massachusetts, they have started sending out advisories to their international students and to their faculty members. Now, these warnings basically stem from Trump's previous policies, which included travel bans, visa limitation, and threats to sanctuary states. Now, here's an example. In November, the University of Massachusetts actually encouraged students to return to campus before Trump's inauguration in January. And this advisory was really given just to avoid any travel restrictions that might be implemented as of January 20, or should I say January 21, the first day after inauguration. And the University of Massachusetts, they were not the only one. Yale also hosted a seminar to address growing concerns with the possible immigration changes that would affect their international students on student visas. Now, why is this important? And why were these advisories necessary? They basically are stemming from Trump's previous presidency, whereby he had abruptly implemented immigration policy changes that affected international students. For example, in 2017, a travel ban was implemented that targeted predominantly Muslim nations, creating chaos at airports that caused many international students not to make it to their campuses to resume their classes. Now, what is the human impact that this has currently? It is causing tremendous anxiety, fear, and uncertainty among students who are on student visas. International students are experiencing overwhelming stress due to the looming uncertainty that exists with these policies that might be implemented. Now, what are the key statistics here? Over 400,000 undocumented students are currently enrolled in U.S. university and colleges seeking higher education. Many of these students are protected under DACA. And anyone who has been following the news over the decades have known that with every administration that comes in, persons under the DACA status have always been in a precarious position because there has always been some looming implication that DACA might be terminated or eliminated. Now take for example Maida. She is a Japanese student who is currently studying within the United States and due to graduate in 2026. She has declared through different news outlets that she is facing extreme anxiety and trepidation based on the uncertainty of what will be happening where immigration is concerned. Now, some persons might say that, hey, why are you speaking about this and why are these students worried? But hey, you can't stop them from being worried. Why they are worried is that they are concerned, although it is mentioned that it will be a focus on illegal, undocumented persons who are committing crimes, they are fearful that this will then be expanded to other undocumented persons within the United States. And based on previous occurrences, they do have a right to be worried, so you cannot discount their anxiety. Even students with valid student visas are feeling this anxiety because they are worried that they might be bundled into the entire mass group that is titled undocumented persons within the United States and targeted for the mass deportation. Now, what are the lessons that we have to learn from Trump's first presidency while in office? Now, what we have to look at is, as I mentioned before, the 2017 travel ban that was implemented. And yes, it focused mainly on persons with Muslim background, but then it was extended to affect persons from North Korea and Venezuela. Outside of the travel ban, another thing that was implemented was a limitation on visa durations, which could have disrupted academic plans for students or countless students who were planning to extend their time in the United States, maybe to do further studies than just a first degree, maybe a postgraduate degree. They were sitting in uncertainty. Now let's look at the best case scenario. Let's say, for example, then that they only focus on the violent offenders and then they leave the students unaffected by any policy changes. That's the best case scenario. And hopefully that's what happens. What's the worst case scenario? It could be that there be expansive policies that go beyond the illegal or violent offenders and then has implications on persons who have expired visas or they're in transition or in their midpoint of renewing their student visas. That's the worst case scenario. Now, if the worst case scenario were to happen, what would be the broader implication on higher education? If stricter immigration policies are enacted, U.S. universities stand to be much more affected than just in their tuition dollars that they receive. But let's look at the tuition dollars that they receive. 45 billion with a B, is what international students contribute annually to the U.S. economy, whether it be through tuition, housing, or just their general expenses that they will do to different retail locations, whether it be food outlets or to be purchasing books and other school material. Let's look at as well the cultural diversity that exists. Now, when you have a school population that is actually a microcosm of the general global system and of the world, you will find that the cultural differences that exist within those classrooms or on those campuses will enrich the lives of everyone and can lead to brainstorming, introduction of different innovations, and just key ideas based on the cultural background of the different students that are on the campus. That is a rich society and a rich education that cannot be taught through any curriculum just by interacting with the different background of different students. Now, what is my advice to international students? What you can do right now? Here's my advice to you. Stay informed. Monitor updates that are coming from the university's office, so keep in close contact with whichever dean that might be or whichever administrator that might manage these international affairs, as well as stay in contact with global affairs and trusted news sources. You can also make sure that you stay tuned, subscribe even to this channel, so that as soon as I put out any current immigration or trending immigration topics and information, you will be aware of that as well. The second thing is to avoid risky travel. Now, yes, I can say that you would be able to go home for the Christmas or the New Year, but I would not advise that you leave the country after January 20. because you are not sure what executive orders might be signed and implemented as of January 21. I hope I said January 20 before, but you're not sure what executive orders might be signed and implemented as of January 21 that might affect you being able to return into the United States. Because remember, things can happen pretty fast as they have happened in the past. So please hold off on any visits that you need to go home for after January 20 until you know for sure what is happening. The next thing that I would recommend is that you build a supportive network. Get connected with fellow students who are on the same path as you, international students on visas, because they might have information and share with you that you might not be aware of in time. And also that you stay in contact with any university resources that might be available and other organizations that support international communities. Now, in conclusion, what's my advice to you? Yes, you have a valid reason to be concerned, and yes, you might say that there's just a buzz about nothing that is happening in the marketplace right now, but I would say to you that based on previous experience, regardless of what circumstances existed at that time, you know that things can go left very quickly. So therefore, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. So therefore, keep abreast. Now is not the time to ignore current affairs and not keep up to date with changing things that might be happening. But especially as of January, you want to make sure that you are up to date with the news. Additionally, if you know that you have a deadline coming up, like your expiration of your student visa, start having everything in place right now so that as soon as you need to renew it, then you can renew it very quickly without any delays, because you have all your paperwork and documentation in place. As a matter of fact, if the ability exists that you can renew before the expiration date, if it is round about the time of the inauguration, then you need to jump on it and get a head start in terms of the renewal process. Now, as usual, my friends, if you know of anyone else that might find this information useful, please share it with them so that they can keep up to date and they can be more assured of what to do in the eventuality that, as we fear, things happen for the worst. Thank you for spending this time with me. I enjoyed sharing this information with you. See you in the next video, and walk good.